Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, I welcome you all to reflect with me on the theme Messenger of God on this fifth Sunday of Ordinary Time. We come to know from the first reading, Job is chosen by God to stand as a witness and also to defend his life, even though he was made to suffer. The image of Job, a kind of a messenger of God, teaches us many things. Job is chosen by God as a sign for God's world created here. Job is now undergoing sufferings, and three friends of Job, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, begin to talk to Job. And today, what we hear in the first reading from the book of Job is in a way Job's response to the first series of talks presented to us in the book, and that also which begins with Eliphaz today. Job is responding to him. The problem is the messengers of God remain as a response on God's behalf in this world. And Job is struggling to stand for God's value. The problem that Job experiences now is he is undergoing suffering. He has lost everything. And therefore, Eliphaz has a reason to tell Job that he must be a wicked man. And therefore, he is undergoing all these sufferings because God protects the innocent and God stands for the innocent. And if Job is experiencing evil, he must have displeased God, and therefore, as a consequence, he is now facing all these difficult moments. And to this, Job is responding today, as we hear from the first reading taken from Job, that he compares himself as a laborer. He finds himself as a soldier who is keeping watch but being paid. He compares himself like any other victim of labor system, where he does not have the freedom but just waits for the daily wages. And Job, in a way, looking down upon himself because of the kind of perception he has built in himself that somehow God has betrayed him. And when he was made to suffer, or when he was facing difficulties, this messenger comes with a kind of what we call a wrong perception that God has betrayed him. Just opposite to Job, we see another messenger of God. That messenger is Paul. In the first Corinthians, which we have read about Paul today, Paul begins to take pride for having been chosen as a messenger of God. And he tells, "Oh, to me, if I do not preach the gospel." Paul always identified himself with the gospel of Christ. He underwent sufferings. He was chased away when he went from town to town to proclaim the risen Christ. And when he began to preach about Christ, he was driven out of the synagogues. He was made to flee from the towns, and yet he remains faithful. He underwent a lot of sufferings, but this messenger of Christ remains faithful to Jesus and continues to proclaim, because for him, he thinks that is his pride. Proclaiming the message of Christ, in a way, gave him a kind of fulfillment in his life. Further, we see in the gospel passage from Mark how Jesus, standing on behalf of God here, continues to do a lot of miracles. The scene is in Capernaum. He has already healed a person from the demonic possession. Now, after having spent quite a lot or having done a lot during the day, Jesus is now going to Peter's house, Simon Peter's house, together with Andrew, James, and John. Jesus now goes and visits the mother-in-law of Simon Peter. And this person who is sick, who is bedridden, now benefits from the touch of Jesus. Now this woman, as soon as she was healed, begins to serve Jesus and all those who came along with him. We find that messenger whom Jesus chose, or the disciple whom Jesus called, Simon Peter, and his family, now with the example of his mother-in-law, begins to benefit from God's touch. God never abandons his messengers. Even though there are difficulties, even though there is suffering, God always holds close to him whom he has chosen, and he nurtures them and he gives them the blessings. And today we have a proof of that in the gospel passage concerning the mother-in-law of Simon Peter. This woman immediately begins to serve Jesus. And not only serves Jesus, but her house becomes a kind of site now for many to experience the miraculous touch of Jesus. Many sick come there. All those who are possessed by demons come there. And all those people who need Jesus' touch also arrive and gather at the door of this mother-in-law of Simon Peter. And there they begin to experience his love. But Jesus also directs us something else. He teaches us something more. These messengers of God, even though when they benefit from all this miraculous touch of Jesus, they are never to forget the moments of prayer. Jesus has something beyond to take them. And therefore, his absence, which is felt among the disciples, is in a way helping them that the moments of prayer which Jesus spent with his Father is the real source and real power that gave him the strength to do all these miraculous activities. The day of Capernaum, the day and night Jesus spent in Capernaum, stands as an example for every disciple and for every messenger of God. What all things Jesus does in Capernaum also becomes a daily plan for us who follow him today. All of us, brothers and sisters, are called to follow Jesus. All of us are called to take pride in the gospel duty that Jesus has given to us and has handed over to us to proclaim his miraculous touch to the sick and the suffering to the entire world. And that we learn how Jesus spends a day and night in Capernaum. It's not like a day and night which Job felt was so harming to him. It's not a day and night which Job was not able to experience. He felt the night too long because of the sufferings, and he felt the day is too short. But we must be like Paul, willing to suffer for the sake of the gospel. And Jesus teaches us this way of moving ahead with his gospel, how in moments of prayer we can learn. The moments of prayer are now the site where we experience God's touch. The moments of prayer have become the place where we experience Jesus. During the day, we occupy ourselves with a lot of activities. We are immersed in our daily busy schedule. But at the same time, when we offer this day and night for the sake of Jesus, and when we remember his gospel and dedicate ourselves to him as his messenger, we experience God's miraculous power in our lives. We have a kind of healing presence of Jesus in our midst. And that healing touch spreads to one all and another, all who come in contact with us. And therefore, today's gospel invites us to have those moments of prayer where we can experience ourselves the miraculous touch of Jesus. But these moments of prayer have a bounden duty to transform us, that is, to become the messengers of God, to become the messengers of God the way Jesus wants us, and to become a messenger of God the way Paul took pride in it. May God bless you and me in our pursuit of Jesus on a daily basis and in every moment of our life. May God bless you and me. Amen.